Insanity, insanity, whatever happened to humanity? Ooh.
X is a 2022 slasher film that has been written. I haven't done this in a while. Directed. And produced by Ty West. Feels good to get that back in the game. A group of actors sets out to make an adult film in rural Texas under the noses of their reclusive host. But when the elderly couple catches their young guest in the act, the cast finds themselves in a desperate fight for their lives. I thought this movie was pretty good. Now, when it comes to horror films, slashers, thriller films, they normally have the concept of a group of teenagers, a group of young adults, a group of kids go out to a certain resort and they end up trying to have sex, or they end up trying to have a recollective closure towards one another when it comes to them trying to build a relationship, or end a relationship if things doesn't work out well when it comes to them being in the line of danger. But what I like about this film is that it has a different approach. These kids, well, these young adults are not really trying to recollect anything. These are porn stars. Well, at least they're trying to be. And yeah, A24 has once again went all out. They start off with a certain approach to this film, what a lot of slasher films do. But when it comes to a lot of slasher films and horror films, they kind of lack the intellect of them using the R title. And A24, if you watch an A24 film, and especially if it's rated R, they gonna throw the rated R gesture in front of your face. And X has done this when it comes to the blood and gore, when it comes to the tension, when it comes to the sexual context, because there's a lot of sex in this film. They do not hold back at all. I was surprised that the actors and the actresses went all out to do what they've done, to do what they want to do in this film. But hey, these are porn stars. Well, at least they're acting to be porn stars, and they acted so well in this film to the point where it didn't really feel as if they were acting, and I was pulled in a lot. If the writers and the producers who made the games Until Dawn and The Quarry that I just reviewed, and they saw this movie, they'll probably make a game like this. What I like about this film too is that you have like certain people who would want to watch this film and they kind of get cringe when it comes to the context, mostly. If you are into horror, you're going to have that here. If you're into sexual context, you're definitely going to get that here. And they mixed that a lot on this film. And honestly, I was pulled in by both aspects. By this being a film when it comes to kids trying to survive through a horror aspect of them trying to make an adult film, they're going to have to show that here. They're going to have to like show certain scenes where they're going to try to start filming. And what I like about it is the shot angles of you getting pulled into the cinematography as they're recording. And I thought that was creative, because I noticed one thing about films like this is that when they have a camera and they're still filming, they're still showing shots of us seeing what's going on, they don't change no type of elements at all. It makes it like and we have to like suspend our disbelief on that. But when it comes to films like this, no. When they record a porn scene, the camera changes into a porn scene, and it feels like you're not even watching an A24 film. It feels like you're watching a flick, and I like that a lot. And the film actually starts off where these cultists in a television begins to have like this certain type of meeting with the crowd on the TV saying that sex is this, sex is the devil, sex is evil. It is a whole different type of evil gesture towards God himself. I feel like if people are into OnlyFans and they're using their account for a whole lot of sexual pornography images, they may not want to watch this film. I talked a lot about the sexual context of this film. Let's talk about the horror. This movie is based in 1979, if I'm not mistaken, and it feels like it. It feels like you're around those times. Now, for those who know me with my horror movie reviews, y'all know that I am deeply, deeply in love with films that is based on back then, and it took me back to those times, even though I wasn't around back then. But it made me feel as if those times really did happen. If you watch this film, you are definitely going to get the feel of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Last Exorcism, Resident Evil 7, and maybe even a pinch of Showgirls. Every actor and actress did pretty well. I was mostly focused on the eyes of the nigga. Sorry. I was mostly focused on Kid Cudi though, because by him being black and him being in a horror film, I was trying to see his approach to the film, because this is actually a film where he actually has to act, and he did well. He did pretty good. He didn't feel like Kid Cudi. He acted more like me in a way. Like if I was in a horror film, or if I was in a line of me being in the hinges of having my life was at stake, I would definitely do what he done. But at the same time, he knew how to have fun with this film too. I liked it how he added some familiar gestures to his character, as in smoking weed and him finding a way to hum too. The sexual context was done well. The acting was done well. The horror was done good too, phenomenally good. Even the dialogue pulled me in too. There were times where they would talk and they would just have like simple conversations, and I felt like I was pulled into a Quentin Tarantino film, and their conversations was pretty deep. And I did not know, and well, it's not by me not knowing. It made me wonder if porn stars actually have conversations like this, and they were just literally asking each other questions, such as in if you're with a couple and you're end up having sex with a whole different type of stranger on camera, does that consider cheating? This movie will pull you in a lot when it comes to you getting intertwined with characters, when it comes to you being in relation to these characters. Even though they're trying to be in the porn industry, it shows you that there are still human beings. Because I noticed that's one thing that porn stars are frustrated with, is that by them exposing their bodies on social media or on the internet, they know that those photos are going to be there forever. But at the same time, they're not robots. They have feelings, they have emotions, just like everybody else. And it pulled me in a lot by believing that in this film. Not that I didn't believe it in the first place, but at the same time, it gave you the eye set and the mindset and you being in the shoes of these characters when it comes to them having these deep conversations. Which is what made me not like the ending of this film. With A24 is known by throwing a lot of things at you at the end, especially at the last 15 or 20 minutes of this film. They did that here, but it was very lackluster. A lot of these characters on here were smart. There was not one character on this film that did anything stupid, did anything out of line, and did anything questionable to the survival belief of their character. Which is what made me hate the last part of this film so much, because by the last half of the film, people was getting picked off quickly. And judging by how they was in the beginning and the middle half of the film, I thought they would knew better. It's not as if they was trying to survive. It was as if they was just walking into danger, walking into the death. And I was getting frustrated. I was getting really pissed off. And I was like, no. And it felt like this movie was being rushed at the end. It felt like they explained certain things, but not enough for me to understand completely of what the concept of this film was at the end. And it was time for characters to die. And that's how I felt watching the last half of the film. But other than that, it's a slasher film, horror film, thriller film. So that's kind of the disease that most of these films catch, and that's what literally put these films at risk when it comes to the rating. I like this film. I suggest you watch this film, but at the same time, if you're expecting a different type of trope of A24, they have that here, but just like horror films, it lacks the last half of you getting pulled in by you believing the character's actions when it comes to them surviving. I'm gonna have to give X a B-. At the end of the day, horror films is my main genre. If it ain't horror, then it's romance films. Don't ask me about that, okay? That's a weird mixture. But those films, in my opinion, are strong when it comes to the acting. It's strong when it comes to the bereavement of these characters being pushed under pressure. And if it's not owning well when it comes to the beginning, the middle, and end, I will not be entertained with it. X done that well here. It has done that well. But by the end of the film, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just how I feel about it. But I just feel as if the last half of the film, it could have been done better, especially when it comes to the pacing of us believing how these characters was going to be. But that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more of my upcoming movie reviews and videos headed your way. This is Hugo, your critic teacher, and you guys have a good day.